Hi everyone. Welcome to English Story School. Part 1. What if the world burned again? Have you ever felt a storm in your soul? The kind that comes not from the skies, but from the fear of a world torn apart again? Imagine waking up to a headline. World War III begins. The Earth, once thriving with technology, music, sports, and laughter, now echoes the drums of war again. But who starts it? Who joins in? And why? History whispers one truth. Those who forget their past are doomed to repeat it. And this, dear viewer, is not just a question of who. It's a question of when, how, and at what cost. So buckle up. We're not just giving facts. We're taking you on a journey where emotions bleed, strategies spark, and history's shadow looms tall once again. Part 2. The Matchstick, a world on edge. Every great war begins with a whisper, then a spark. A single spark that doesn't just ignite the battlefield, but burns through economies, alliances, and humanity's collective sanity. Today, our world is a powder keg. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, global powers are no longer just flexing muscles. They're forging weapons of influence, information, and ideology. This war, if it breaks out, will not begin with a declaration. It will begin with a denial, followed by a digital blackout, and then silence, deadly silence. The United States and China, two titans colliding in the Pacific theater, are circling each other like ancient warriors. Taiwan, a small island with massive geopolitical gravity, is the flashpoint. The U.S. pledges to defend it. China vows to reunify it. And every satellite, drone, and submarine in the region waits for that one wrong move. Victory doesn't require permission, whispers ambition behind every closed-door military drill. In the East, Russia sharpens its blades, not just through tanks and missiles, but through cyber disruption, economic blackmail, and hybrid warfare. Ukraine was just the beginning. The Baltics feel the heat, Eastern Europe feels the tremors, and NATO watches with clenched fists. And all the while, a familiar warning echoes. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. The Middle East burns in quiet anticipation. Iran, emboldened by shifting alliances and strategic patience, rises as a shadow empire. Proxy militias, clandestine networks, and missile stockpiles lace the region like a trap set for global superpowers. Saudi Arabia strengthens its walls. Israel sharpens its eyes. The Gulf sleeps with one eye open. Africa and Latin America, often seen as bystanders in global conflicts, are no longer sidelines. They are battlegrounds for influence. China builds roads and ports. The U.S. counters with military advisors. Russia funds regimes. It's not about land anymore. It's about loyalty. Influence is the new oil. And in the shadows of this looming conflict, the real war has already begun. Not with bullets, but with bandwidth. Cyber attacks on power grids, financial markets, and defense systems blur the lines between war and peace. Who dropped the first virus? Who collapsed that bank? Who darkened an entire city's skyline? Nobody knows. And that's the point. The quote that rings through the static. The battlefield of the future is not land or sea. It's the mind. Psychological warfare, disinformation, AI-generated chaos, deep fakes, fake leaders, fake peace is more dangerous than any missile. When you can no longer trust what you see, who do you believe? When lies scream louder than truth, who wins? Our world today is like a chessboard at its breaking point. Every piece is moved. Every strategy is set. The kings have spoken. The pawns have marched. Economic sanctions replace diplomacy. Trade wars precede real wars. And then there's the matchstick. A single drone shot down. A misinterpreted missile launch. An assassination, a cyber attack on a nuclear facility. One event, one moment, one matchstick, and the flame will not choose sides. It will consume. The matchstick is ready. The question is, who lights it? In war, there are no winners, only survivors. Let that be your echo before the fire begins. Part 3. United States, the reluctant giant. In the theater of global chaos, one nation stands at the center stage, whether it wants to or not, the United States of America. A land built on revolutions, tempered by civil war, and hardened by world conflicts, America has always carried the burden of leadership. But what happens when that burden becomes a battlefield? The world sees the U.S. as a symbol of freedom, power, arrogance, and salvation. It has been the architect of the post-World War II order, the guardian of democracy, and the enforcer of global rules. Loved by some, hated by many, but respected by all. Because the stars and stripes don't just fly over borders, they shape them. Now, with the threat of World War III rising like a storm, the U.S. stands at crossroads. Isolation whispers in one ear. Intervention screams in the other. And yet history reminds America of a brutal truth. You may not go looking for war, but war knows your address. Internally, America is divided. Politically, socially, culturally. The wounds run deep, and adversaries know it. They feed the flames through fake news, foreign influence, and digital sabotage. But if war knocks, those divisions will melt under the heat of urgency. Because when the first strike hits, America does not stay neutral. The spark could come from anywhere. A Chinese move on Taiwan, a Russian push into NATO territory, a terrorist bioattack traced back to a rogue state. Any of these scenarios drag the U.S. into the ring, not out of choice, but out of necessity. Allies will look to Washington. Enemies will brace for impact. From the ashes of Pearl Harbor to the deserts of Iraq, the U.S. military has evolved into a force unmatched in capability. Stealth bombers that vanish from radar. Submarines that carry a nation's fury beneath the waves. Drones that kill with precision from continents away. And a nuclear triad that serves one purpose: deterrence through dominance. And then there's NATO, a commitment sealed in ink but forged in blood. An attack on one is an attack on all. If Europe burns, America responds. If the Pacific flares, America sails. It's not just alliance, it's identity. In unity we stand, in silence we fall. Beyond weapons and strategies, the U.S. has another strength: its ability to inspire. Its flag waves not just on ships, but in minds. The idea of America, the freedom it represents, the values it holds. These are weapons too. And in a war of ideologies, symbols can shake empires. But this war, if it comes, won't be like the last. This time, the U.S. must fight battles on screens and satellites, in jungles and JavaScript, in deserts and data streams. Cyber units will march before soldiers. AI will predict threats before bullets fly. Information will be a missile. Truth will be armor. And yet, through all the complexity, the heart of the American spirit remains unchanged. We do not fear the storm. We are the storm. So when the moment comes, when the matchstick ignites and the world tilts into chaos, America, the reluctant giant, will rise not just because it can, but because it must. Not for glory, not for vengeance, but because that's what giants do. Stay tuned, because this story is just beginning. Quote of the part: when giants fall, they shake the world. When they rise, they burn the sky. Part 4. China, the sleeping dragon wakes. Ancient, disciplined, and dangerously strategic, China rises with a force that shakes the very foundations of global power. For centuries, it has been the keeper of a rich civilization, weaving wisdom, warcraft, and will into an unbreakable spirit. Today, that spirit pulses in every move Beijing makes, a silent but unmistakable roar echoing through the corridors of international tension. The battle for Taiwan is more than territorial. It is a battle for honor, survival, and legacy. Every maneuver in the South China Sea is a message, a challenge cast like a gauntlet to the world. The waters that shimmer with trade routes also ripple with the threat of conflict. Cyber warfare? It is no longer a whispered secret in shadowed rooms. It has become the new front line, where unseen battles rage. Sabotage lurks behind every click, and national security hangs by a thread. China isn't waiting anymore. It is preparing. Patiently, methodically, relentlessly. Their doctrine is as cunning as it is chilling: win without fighting. To strike decisively while avoiding the destruction of open war. This is the art they have perfected. But make no mistake, provoke the dragon, and its breath is fire, scorching everything in its path. The world watches, breath held, as the silent dragon coils, ready to unleash its power with devastating precision. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Sun Tzu. This ancient wisdom now dances with modern weapons and geopolitical chess. Every move China makes is calculated, with centuries of strategy blending seamlessly with cutting-edge technology. It's a game where mistakes could mean disaster for millions, where every step is watched and every silence speaks volumes. Will the dragon remain coiled, or will it roar to change the world order forever? The answer is a burning question no one dares ignore. Quote of the part: "You may forget the tiger you poked, but the tiger never forgets you." Part 5. Russia, the bear that roared. Russia, vast and formidable, is more than a nation. It is a force of nature, a bear whose presence alone commands respect and fear. It doesn't need to ignite World War III to change the course of history. Its mere existence in the global arena unsettles powers and shifts balances. When Russia crossed into Ukraine, it was not just a military invasion. It was a thunderous declaration that the old world order was fragile, perhaps even breaking. The world's patience was tested, its nerves stretched to the breaking point. But what if that was only the beginning? What if Ukraine was merely chapter 1 in a far darker saga? The West, feeling threatened, responded with sanctions and diplomatic pressure. But Russia did not retreat. Instead, it retaliated with cold resolve, showing that beneath the bear's fur lies a heart as fierce as any warrior's. This conflict was no isolated incident. It became a symbol of a wider battle brewing beneath the surface. A proxy war played out not just in Ukraine, but in the shadows of global diplomacy and economic strategy. Alliances formed and shattered, like delicate glass underfoot, as countries scrambled to secure their interests. Proxy wars flared in distant lands, each battle another piece in a global puzzle with high stakes. Oil politics twisted the narrative even further. Energy became a weapon as powerful as any missile or bomb. The bear wasn't just roaring now. It was charging full force, eyes fixed on the horizon where power is made or lost. Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. Mahatma Gandhi. Russia's will to assert itself is unyielding. Its strategy is raw, sometimes brutal, yet deeply calculated. It reminds the world that beneath the cold skies of Siberia beats the pulse of a nation prepared to defend its interests, its pride, and its place on the world stage, no matter the cost. In the shadows of this looming conflict, every move Russia makes sends ripples across continents. The bear's roar echoes louder, warning that when provoked, it will not hesitate to strike with all its might. The stakes have never been higher, and the world watches in tense anticipation. The question remains, how far will the bear charge before the world responds? Quote of the part, the Cold War froze bullets. The new war melts silence. Part 6, the Middle East, powder keg of old flames. The Middle East, a land as ancient as time itself, where history is written in the dust and destiny hangs on the edge of every whispered secret. Here, the layers of religion, culture, and politics intertwine like a tightly woven tapestry, rich with beauty yet fraught with tension. This region, often called the cradle of civilization, carries wounds that have never fully healed. In the context of World War III, the Middle East is no longer just a backdrop. It becomes the strategic heart, the epicenter where old flames threaten to burst into unstoppable fire. Iran stands as a force with ambitions that echo through the region. Its pursuit of power, nuclear capabilities, and influence is a shadow looming large over the Middle East chessboard. Across the horizon, Israel watches keenly, a nation forged in adversity and resilience, ready to defend itself with unwavering determination. Saudi Arabia's sands conceal shifting allegiances and ambitions of their own, while Turkey's expanding reach brings another layer of complexity to the volatile mix. Each of these players sits on a fault line of ambition and history, where every action reverberates with potential consequences far beyond their borders. Imagine a drone strike, swift, silent, and devastating, or a religious insult, intentional or accidental, igniting ancient grievances that refuse to fade. Even a collapsed political deal, meant to build peace, could instead shatter fragile hopes. In this tinderbox, the smallest spark is enough to ignite infernos that could engulf the world. The Middle East, with all its contradictions, is a stark reminder of how history's shadows can reach into the future with terrifying clarity. Peace is not absence of conflict. It is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. Ronald Reagan. The irony is clear. While peace remains the desire, the path to it is littered with obstacles and dangers. The Middle East teaches the world that peace requires courage, understanding, and vigilance, qualities tested to the breaking point as the drumbeats of war grow louder. Here, in the crossroads of civilization, the struggle for power is as old as the deserts themselves, yet every moment holds the fragile promise that this time, the fire might be contained. But will it? Or will the powder keg explode, dragging the world into flames no one can control? The tension is palpable, the stakes monumental, and the outcome uncertain. This is a place where history's ancient grudges meet the modern world's chaos, a place where the fate of millions hangs in the balance. Quote of the part, oil fuels engines. Faith fuels armies. Part 7, NATO, the alliance tested. NATO, a mighty shield born from the ashes of the Cold War, built to protect a fragile peace and hold back the shadows of a divided world. It was forged in fire and trust, an alliance of nations bound by a promise that if one falls, all stand together. But today, that promise faces its most grueling test yet. The question hangs heavy in the air. When the storm breaks, will the alliance hold? Or will cracks appear beneath the pressure of a new, unpredictable war? Imagine the unimaginable. A Russian missile piercing the skies above Poland, a nation long on the front line of East-West tensions. Or a sophisticated cyber attack targeting France, a silent war waged in the shadows of digital battlefields, crippling infrastructure, sowing chaos, and striking fear. The NATO treaty is unambiguous. An attack on one is an attack on all. The consequences? a domino effect dragging every member nation into the heart of conflict, no matter their distance or desire. But this is not just a story of military might or strategic calculations. It is deeply emotional, an echo of history calling the old allies to rise once more. Brothers in arms, once united against a common enemy, now face the daunting task of standing together against a new, more complex threat. The scars of past wars are still visible, but so too is the unbreakable bond forged through decades of shared sacrifice and unwavering loyalty. Unity is strength. When there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. Maddie Stepanek. NATO's power is more than tanks and missiles. It's in the spirit of cooperation, the trust between nations that despite differences, they fight for a common cause. Yet, this alliance is not without challenges. Political divides, national interests, and shifting global priorities test the very foundation of this brotherhood. Some question if old promises can withstand the pressures of a 21st century conflict where enemies are invisible and the battlefield extends beyond borders into cyberspace and economies. As tensions rise, NATO must decide. Will it remain a fortress unyielding, a beacon of hope and strength? Or will it fracture, weakened by doubt and division? The world watches, breaths held, as history prepares to write its next chapter. The alliance's response will not only shape the fate of its member nations, but could determine the course of World War III itself. In the face of looming war, NATO's message is clear. Together, we stand. Alone, we fall. Quote of the part. An attack on one is a cry to all, and the cry is war. Part 8. Pakistan, the Silent Storm. Nestled in the rugged landscapes of South Asia, where ancient mountains stand as silent witnesses to history, lies a nation often misunderstood but never underestimated, Pakistan. A land forged in struggle, resilience, and unyielding spirit. Pakistan's story is one of bravery written not in loud proclamations, but in the silent strength of its people and its armed forces. This is a nation whose courage echoes in every village, every valley, and every city, where sacrifice is not just a memory, but a living, breathing reality. Pakistan's military is no stranger to hardship or conflict. Battle-hardened through decades of regional wars, border skirmishes, and relentless challenges, it stands as a formidable force on the world stage. But beyond its physical strength, what truly sets Pakistan apart is its strategic mind, a nation that understands that wars today are fought not only with guns but with ideas, tactics, and precision. And then, there is Pakistan's nuclear arsenal, a shield cloaked in mystery and strength. Not just a collection of weapons, but a sophisticated, modern force designed for swift, tactical response. This is not about brute force. It is about lightning strikes, calculated, fierce, and unstoppable when unleashed. The world may know about the power, but few truly grasp the precision and resolve behind it. If peace is to be kept, it must be won. Winston Churchill. In the theater of global tension, Pakistan plays the role of the silent storm. Quiet, patient, but terrifying when roused. It does not boast. It does not threaten with empty words. Instead, it prepares relentlessly, moving with the calm of a desert wind before the storm. When provoked, Pakistan's response will not be a mere roar but a thunderclap, swift, proud, and full of unyielding power. Its people embody this spirit. Warriors born of sacrifice, stitched together by unbreakable faith, and driven by a courage that does not falter in the face of overwhelming odds. Every soldier, every citizen, carries this torch of resilience, lighting the path through dark times with unwavering determination. Pakistan's strength is not just in its weapons, but in the hearts of its people, a nation ready to defend its honor, sovereignty, and future with unmatched valor. The strategic calculus here is complex and layered. Pakistan knows that the flames of World War III would engulf not just the region, but the entire world. Yet, it stands ready, a sentinel guarding a delicate balance in one of the most volatile regions on Earth. Its alliances, its internal strength, and its ability to adapt to modern warfare make it a critical player in this deadly chess game. For those watching the global chessboard, the question remains, will Pakistan's silent storm be the key to maintaining balance, or will it unleash a force that shakes the world to its core? One thing is certain, this nation, with all its ancient pride and modern prowess, will never be sidelined or silenced. In a world bristling with tension and uncertainty, Pakistan reminds us that true strength often lies not in noise, but in the quiet storm that shapes destinies. Quote of the part, "You can threaten a country, but you can't shake a nation that was born in fire." Part 9. Europe, old empires and new flames. Europe, a continent whose soil has soaked the blood of countless wars, where the echoes of ancient empires still linger in every cobblestone street and towering castle. France, Germany, the United Kingdom, names that once shaped the world through conquest and colonization, now stand together in a new era, forged by lessons of history and sharpened by the relentless advance of modern technology. Their past, though stained by the scars of war, fuels their present resolve. Europe is no longer a collection of isolated nations. It is a unified fortress prepared not just to fight, but to fiercely protect the peace it has painfully built. Those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it. George Santayana. In today's complex geopolitical landscape, Europe is no stranger to challenges. But unlike centuries ago, their weapons are not just cannons and muskets. They wield the sharpest swords of the digital age, advanced cyber warfare capabilities, cutting-edge intelligence systems, and an unwavering commitment to their alliances. Europe's strength lies not only in its military might, but in its economic power, which fuels its defense and innovation, creating a web of resilience that is hard to penetrate. France stands tall, with its powerful nuclear arsenal and elite forces ready to defend its sovereignty and values. Germany, often seen as Europe's economic engine, powers a military that has evolved from the shadows of its past into a sophisticated, highly trained force capable of rapid deployment across the continent. The United Kingdom, with its seasoned navy and intelligence services, commands the seas and spies in the shadows, ensuring that threats are identified before they can ignite flames of conflict. NATO, the bedrock of European defense, binds these nations and many others under a promise of mutual protection. When one is attacked, all respond. This unity is more than a treaty. It is a bond forged in the fires of past wars, strengthened by a shared vision of peace through strength. Imagine a missile striking Poland, a cyber attack disabling critical infrastructure in France, or a skirmish on the Baltic borders. The response would be immediate and resolute. Europe will not sit idle. It will rise, not just as a defender, but as a relentless force, determined to protect its people, its values, and its future. But beneath the armor of modern weaponry and alliances lies a continent still haunted by memories. Memories of trenches, sieges, and the unyielding cost of division. These memories fuel a fierce determination never to repeat the horrors of the past. Europe fights not only with guns and missiles, but with the weight of history on its shoulders, transforming pain into purpose. This new era brings new challenges. The battlefield extends beyond the physical, It invades cyberspace, where shadowy hackers can disrupt economies and sow chaos. Europe's defense is now also digital, a silent war raging behind computer screens, where every keystroke can decide the fate of millions. This hidden front requires courage, innovation, and relentless vigilance. Europe is not just an old empire awakening. It is a phoenix rising from ashes of history, reborn with fire in its heart and steel in its resolve. It will fight fiercely, not out of desire for conquest, but out of necessity, to safeguard its people, preserve its values, and keep the flames of war from consuming the world once more. In this vast, intricate web of alliances, histories, and ambitions, Europe stands as a testament to resilience. Its old empires may have faded, but their spirit burns brighter than ever, lighting the path in a world teetering on the edge. Quote of the part: "Old empires don't die. They evolve, and when tested, they respond." Part 10. Wildcards: North Korea, Japan, Pakistan, and beyond. In the sprawling, tense chessboard of global conflict, some pieces move unpredictably, their actions defying expectation and reshaping the game itself. These are the wild cards, countries whose roles in a potential World War III could tilt the balance in unexpected, sometimes explosive ways. Among them, North Korea, Japan, Pakistan, and a host of others, Brazil, Australia, Israel. Each carries a unique story, a distinct power, and a volatile spark just waiting for the right moment to ignite. North Korea, the enigma wrapped in secrecy and shadow, stands as one of the world's most unpredictable actors. With a regime shrouded in mystery and an arsenal of nuclear weapons that defies conventional deterrence, North Korea's moves are watched with bated breath. Its leadership has shown time and again a willingness to defy global norms, using both fear and brinkmanship as tools of survival and influence. The volatile mix of aggressive missile tests and fiery rhetoric creates a powder keg in Northeast Asia that no one can afford to ignore. The question hangs in the air: will Pyongyang's next move be a desperate gesture for survival or a calculated strike to change the course of history? Danger knows full well that caution is the eldest child of wisdom. Victor Hugo, Japan, once a pacifist nation defined by its post-World War II constitution, is quietly shedding its restraint. Rising from the ashes of history with renewed military resolve, Japan is investing heavily in defense, developing cutting-edge technology, and strengthening alliances, particularly with the United States and regional partners. The tension in the Pacific is palpable, with China's assertiveness and North Korea's unpredictability pushing Japan to reconsider its long-held pacifism. Its role in a future conflict could be decisive, not just for the defense of its own islands, but for the stability of the entire Asia-Pacific region. Japan's transformation is a powerful reminder that history's shadows can cast long, and sometimes new chapters are written in the fiercest ink. Pakistan, the silent storm of South Asia, entwines itself deeply in the nuclear shadows of this looming global conflict. With a fierce military reputation and unmatched tactical nuclear capabilities, Pakistan stands as a guardian of its own destiny. Its strategic location between India, China, and the Middle East makes it a critical player in any conflict that spills beyond borders. Pakistan's approach is measured, steeped in resilience and courage born of decades of struggle. Yet its involvement in any conflict carries immense weight, a lightning strike that could alter the course of the war in moments. Pakistan's resolve is not just military strength. It is a testament to a nation's spirit, forged through sacrifice, unity, and unwavering pride. But the wild cards don't end there. Brazil, a nation bursting with potential and resources, watches cautiously from its hemisphere. Its vast natural wealth and emerging military capabilities could tip the scales if drawn into a global conflict. Australia, the rugged island nation, stands as a strategic sentinel in the Indo-Pacific, increasingly stepping into its role as a key ally and regional power with growing defense commitments. Israel, ever vigilant and battle-hardened, remains a critical player in Middle Eastern dynamics. Its advanced military and intelligence capabilities could ripple through the war's theater with unpredictable effects. These wild cards are not mere countries. They're stories written in the language of survival, ambition, and fate. Each holds a piece of the puzzle, a key to a different future, peace or chaos. Their alliances are fragile, their motives complex, and their potential impact profound. The tension is almost palpable, like a tightly coiled spring waiting for the moment to release its force. In the grand narrative of World War III, these wild cards add depth, suspense, and unpredictability. They remind us that wars are not fought by giants alone. Often, the most unexpected players write the most dramatic chapters. And as the world watches, waiting and wondering, these nations hold their breath, ready for the match to be lit, ready to step forward or step back in this high-stakes game. The question remains, when the spark flies, will these wild cards play their hand wisely or gamble with the fate of millions? Quote of the part, sometimes the smallest match burns the biggest forest. Part 11. Iran, the rising phoenix of the Middle East. In the heart of the Middle East lies Iran, a land steeped in ancient civilizations, rich cultural heritage, and a fierce pride that runs deep through the veins of its people. For thousands of years, it has stood as a crossroads of empires and ideas, a battleground of faith and power, where the flames of revolution and tradition burn side by side in a volatile dance. But today, Iran is far more than a relic of history. It is a complex, unpredictable force, poised to play a critical role in the shadow war brewing on the brink of global conflict. Iran's power is a layered mystery. It is not only about the vast oil fields that fuel economies or its strategic location, a choke point connecting Asia, Europe, and the Gulf, but about the iron will and ideology that propels its ambitions. This is a nation whose revolutionary spirit refuses to bow to external pressures, whether they come in the form of sanctions, military threats, or diplomatic isolation. The Islamic Republic's leadership operates with a boldness that shocks the world, sending ripples through global diplomacy and military strategy alike. At the core of Iran's modern assertiveness lies its controversial nuclear program. Shrouded in secrecy, it represents more than just a quest for energy or defense. It is a symbol of defiance, a warning that Iran will not be sidelined or controlled by foreign powers. As whispers of uranium enrichment and hidden centrifuges echo in the halls of international power, Tehran's message is clear. Iran is here to stay, and it will fiercely protect its sovereignty at any cost. Iran doesn't seek to conquer the world. It seeks to challenge the order that has long dictated its fate. This powerful quote reverberates through Tehran's corridors of power, embodying the nation's determination to rewrite the rules of engagement in the Middle East and beyond. It's a message that warns the world. Iran is not just reacting. It is shaping the future on its own terms. The complexity of Iran's influence extends far beyond its borders. With a network of proxy forces stretching across Lebanon's Hezbollah, the Syrian battlefield, Iraqi militias, and Yemeni Houthis, Iran wields unconventional warfare with frightening precision. These proxies act as Iran's extended arms, igniting localized conflicts that threaten to escalate into regional infernos. Every missile launched, every drone strike carried out, and every shadowy cyber operation reveals Tehran's capability to disrupt global stability without firing a single bullet itself. Cyber warfare is an increasingly important front in Iran's arsenal. Through hackers and digital spies, Tehran can penetrate electric grids, disrupt financial systems, and manipulate information, turning the digital landscape into a battlefield that few see until it's too late. This silent war, waged in the shadows of servers and networks, could cripple nations without traditional combat, making Iran a dangerous player in a new kind of global conflict. The question hanging heavy over the world is terrifying. If World War III erupts, how far will Iran push its limits? Will it unleash its proxies in a synchronized strike to cripple its enemies? Will it ignite new flashpoints in the fragile alliances that currently hold the region together? Could a single drone attack or cyber breach by Iran trigger a chain reaction, dragging the world into a deeper abyss of chaos and destruction? Amidst this geopolitical chess game, the people of Iran stand, proud, resilient, and often overlooked by global headlines. They are a nation weathered by decades of economic sanctions, political isolation, and the scars of war. Yet their spirit, like the legendary phoenix that rises from ashes, holds on to the hope of renewal, reform, and survival against overwhelming odds. For many Iranians, the struggle is not just about politics or power, but about preserving their identity, culture, and future in a world that often misunderstands them. Iran's path forward is a winding road shrouded in uncertainty. Internal divisions between hardliners and reformists clash with the country's need for economic growth and stability. Yet, one thing remains undeniably clear. Iran is a nation determined to play the long game, to endure, and to assert its influence on the world stage, whether through diplomacy, covert operations, or outright confrontation. As the world watches anxiously, Iran's presence is a constant reminder of how fragile the global balance truly is. A single miscalculation could ignite a spark, setting the region, and potentially the world, ablaze. In this tense moment on the edge of war, Iran's role as the rising phoenix is both a warning and a testament to the power of resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. Quote of the part: Iran doesn't seek to conquer the world. It seeks to challenge the order that has long dictated its fate. Part 12. Afghanistan, the land of endurance and shadows. Afghanistan, often called the graveyard of empires, is a land shaped by centuries of relentless struggle, a rugged and unforgiving terrain where the echoes of past invasions and betrayals still resonate in the wind. This is a place where majestic mountains stand guard over endless valleys, and every stone tells a story of endurance, sacrifice, and unyielding spirit. Afghanistan's history is carved with the marks of great empires that rose and fell, of tribal conflicts and foreign ambitions. Yet despite the scars of war and upheaval, its story is far from finished. Today, as the world teeters on the brink of a new global conflict, Afghanistan's unstable and shadowy landscape may become one of the most unpredictable chapters in this unfolding drama. Strategically, Afghanistan sits at the crossroads of South and Central Asia, a key pawn in the world's most dangerous and complex geopolitical chessboard. The rugged Hindu Kush mountains and vast deserts have long been both a fortress and a trap, a place where invading armies have stumbled, insurgent forces have flourished, and shifting alliances have rewritten the rules of engagement. For global powers, Afghanistan is not just a country. It's a challenge, a test of patience, will, and influence. Its location connects major energy corridors, trade routes, and spheres of influence, making control or influence here a prize that no power can afford to ignore. The scars left by decades of war are visible not just in the shattered cities and barren villages, but etched deep into the soul of the nation. The fall of regimes, the rise and fall of the Taliban, the ongoing insurgencies, and the fragile government structures all paint a picture of volatility. But within this volatility lies a paradox. Afghanistan's fragility can either spiral the region into unending chaos or ignite a fierce resistance that could defy the odds and alter the course of history. Afghanistan does not ask for peace, it demands survival. This proverb, whispered through generations by villagers and warriors alike, captures the relentless determination of a people who have been tested beyond measure. Their fight is not for glory or conquest, but for existence, for the right to live in a land they call home, no matter the cost. The world watches Afghanistan with a mixture of caution and concern. Foreign powers approach like wary hunters, fully aware that a single misstep, a misguided intervention, an underestimation of tribal dynamics, or a breakdown of fragile alliances could unleash chaos far beyond its borders. The country's mountainous terrain provides perfect cover for insurgent groups, extremist factions, and criminal networks, all eager to exploit the cracks in governance and security. This makes Afghanistan a breeding ground for instability, with ripple effects that can threaten the entire region and beyond. Yet amid the darkness and uncertainty, there flickers a persistent flame of hope. The Afghan people, despite being battered by decades of conflict, sanctions, and hardship, display an extraordinary resilience and a profound love for their homeland. From the bustling bazaars of Kabul to the remote mountain villages, dreams persist. Dreams of a future where children run freely without fear, where education thrives, and where the guns fall silent. This spirit of endurance, deeply woven into Afghan culture and identity, stands as a testament to humanity's capacity to withstand even the harshest storms. As the international arena braces for what may become World War III, Afghanistan remains a critical and unpredictable variable. Will it become the powder keg that explodes, igniting widespread devastation? Or will it emerge as a bastion of resilience, a land that endures despite the shadows that surround it? The answer hangs in the balance, shaped by the choices of those within and beyond its borders. In this fragile and volatile landscape, every alliance is tentative, every move carefully watched, and every decision laden with consequences. The world must recognize that Afghanistan is more than a battleground. It is a symbol of endurance, a land where shadows and hope coexist in uneasy balance. And as history has shown time and again, underestimating Afghanistan is a risk no nation can afford to take. Quote of the part, Afghanistan does not ask for peace, it demands survival. Part 13. Turkey, the crossroads of power and ambition. Turkey is a nation born of crossroads, geographical, cultural, and political. It is where continents collide, where the legacy of empires meets the fiery ambitions of a modern republic. Straddling the divide between East and West, Turkey is not just a bridge between worlds, but a powerful actor shaping the very fate of the region and beyond. As global tensions mount, Turkey's role becomes increasingly pivotal, poised to either tip the balance or forge a new path in the chaos of a potential World War III. The Turkish Republic, founded in the ashes of the Ottoman Empire, carries a complex identity. It embraces both the traditions of its rich history and the boldness of a new, assertive vision. Militarily, Turkey commands respect. One of NATO's largest standing forces, it has spent decades modernizing its army, air force, and navy. From advanced drones patrolling contested skies to a growing domestic defense industry, Turkey's military prowess is no longer just regional. It is a growing global force. This is a country prepared for conflict, not just defense. But Turkey's ambitions stretch far beyond mere military strength. Its geopolitical position is nothing short of strategic gold. Controlling the Bosporus Strait, the narrow, vital waterway connecting the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, Turkey holds the keys to naval power and global maritime trade routes. This control gives Turkey leverage over countries that depend on these waters for oil, gas, and goods, making it a critical player in any global confrontation. Whoever commands Turkey's cooperation wields influence over a major gateway between continents. Turkey's leadership, driven by President Erdogan's vision, projects a regional dominance that is both bold and pragmatic. Its involvement in Syria and Iraq is a testament to this. Far from a passive neighbor, Turkey has actively shaped the conflicts in these nations, sometimes as an ally, sometimes as a disruptor. It backs certain factions, controls key border areas, and plays a complex game of diplomacy and military power. This influence allows Turkey to assert itself as a power broker, but also drags it into protracted conflicts with no easy resolution. In the game of empires, Turkey does not wait for the dice to roll, it throws them. This statement, often heard in Ankara's halls of power, reflects a mentality of proactive, decisive action. Turkey is not content to sit on the sidelines. It moves boldly, making choices that shake the status quo and challenge traditional alliances. Whether through military incursions, diplomatic maneuvers, or economic pressure, Turkey asserts its will unapologetically. Yet, Turkey's path is far from smooth. Internally, it grapples with deep divisions. Ethnic tensions, particularly involving the Kurdish population, persist as a source of conflict and instability. These fractures threaten to destabilize the country from within, at times consuming political attention and military resources that might otherwise focus outward. Moreover, Turkey's democracy faces pressure from authoritarian tendencies, complicating its relations with Western allies who question its commitment to shared values. Externally, Turkey navigates a complex web of alliances and rivalries. As a NATO member, it is tied to Western military commitments, but often pursues policies that frustrate its allies, such as purchasing Russian defense systems or engaging in conflicts that challenge Western interests. This balancing act makes Turkey unpredictable, a wild card in any global conflict scenario. Its diplomacy is agile, but sometimes contradictory, walking a tightrope between cooperation and confrontation. Turkey's role in managing refugee crises adds another layer to its geopolitical significance. Hosting millions fleeing conflict zones in Syria and beyond, Turkey stands at the forefront of a humanitarian challenge with global repercussions. This responsibility provides Turkey with leverage in negotiations with Europe and other powers, but also strains its resources and stokes domestic tensions. The refugee question is a critical piece of Turkey's regional influence and internal politics alike. Energy is yet another arena where Turkey wields considerable influence. Positioned near major oil and gas corridors, it acts as a transit hub for resources flowing from the Caspian, Middle East, and Russia to Europe and beyond. Control over these energy routes means power, not only economic but strategic, as access to energy supplies will be a major factor in any large-scale conflict. Turkey's ambitions include expanding this influence, seeking to become an energy powerhouse itself, which puts it at odds with rival states and multinational interests. The cyber domain is no less important for Turkey. In a world where digital warfare can cripple nations without firing a shot, Turkey is developing its capabilities in cyber defense and offense. It faces threats from regional adversaries and global actors alike, and its response reflects a growing recognition that future wars will be fought as much in the invisible realm of data as on physical battlefields. As tensions spiral upward globally, Turkey stands at crossroads. Will it adhere to its traditional alliances within NATO and the West, or will it pursue an increasingly independent and assertive foreign policy? Will it be a force for regional stability or a catalyst accelerating conflict? The answers to these questions will echo far beyond its borders, affecting not only the fate of the Middle East, but the outcome of any global confrontation. One thing remains undeniable. Turkey's fire burns brightly. It is a nation that refuses to be a silent bystander in the world's most dangerous moments. Whether through military might, diplomatic boldness, or strategic positioning, Turkey will be a key player whose decisions could alter the trajectory of World War III. The stakes are immense, the ambitions high, and the outcomes uncertain. But for Turkey, the game is clear: to wield its power, assert its influence, and ensure its place in the new world order that is rapidly taking shape. Quote of the part: in the game of empires, Turkey does not wait for the dice to roll. It throws them. Part 14. The Digital Frontlines, Cyber World War. Gone are the days when the thunder of artillery and the roar of jets alone define the battlegrounds of war. In the shadow of modern conflict lies an invisible, relentless war. A war waged not by soldiers on the ground, but by hackers behind keyboards, by shadowy agents hidden deep inside servers, and by unseen fingers manipulating data in the dark corridors of the internet. Welcome to the digital front lines of World War III, a silent yet devastating battlefield where bytes can devastate cities and code can cripple nations. This cyber war is unlike any conflict humanity has faced before. There are no trenches or frontline soldiers, but the consequences are just as deadly. Imagine the electric grid blacking out across an entire continent, plunging millions into darkness and chaos. Picture satellites being blinded, communication lines severed, and banking systems frozen, locking down economies and starving nations of resources. The media, the lifeline of information, twisted and weaponized, flooding minds with disinformation and sowing seeds of distrust and panic. This is the battlefield of the future, and it's already here. The most dangerous weapon in the world is the one you cannot see. Anonymous. In this realm, battles happen at the speed of light, often unnoticed until the damage is done. A carefully planned virus can infiltrate critical infrastructure, shutting down power plants or disabling defense systems at the worst possible moment. Cyber espionage steals military secrets, crippling strategic advantages without a single shot fired. Social media becomes a battlefield of its own, where fake news, propaganda, and digital trolls fuel hatred and division, eroding the unity needed to face a common enemy. Nations pour billions into building offensive and defensive cyber capabilities, recruiting elite hackers, and developing artificial intelligence that can predict and counteract attacks in real time. The stakes are higher than ever because the lines between military and civilian targets blur. A cyber attack on a hospital's life support systems or water treatment plants isn't just a strategic move. It's a direct attack on human lives, a brutal weapon of modern warfare. This digital war demands new rules, if rules can survive in the shadows where anonymity reigns. Attribution is difficult, often impossible, allowing attackers to hide behind false flags and plausible deniability. Retaliation becomes a question not just of power, but of precision, striking back without plunging the world into uncontrollable chaos. In this new era, Every citizen is a soldier, whether they realize it or not. Our reliance on technology is a double-edged sword. While it connects the world, it also exposes vulnerabilities that can be exploited on a global scale. The battlefield is everywhere, in homes, offices, government buildings, and everyone is a potential target. The digital front lines show us a terrifying truth. World War III will not be fought only with bombs and tanks, but with information, deception, and invisibility. It's a war where the most potent weapons are invisible lines of code, and where victory depends as much on intelligence and innovation as on sheer firepower. And as the world braces for this silent storm, one chilling question remains. Who controls the digital shadows? Controls the fate of nations? Quote of the part: the new warrior doesn't carry a gun. He holds a code. Part 15. The human spirit, our last hope. When the thunder of war echoes across continents, and the world stands on the brink of destruction, beyond the chaos of bombs, the clash of armies, and the cold logic of strategies, there remains one force that no weapon can break: the human spirit. In the shadow of a potential World War III, it is this indomitable spirit that will decide not just the fate of nations, but the survival of humanity itself. War is often seen as a test of strength, of armies, of weapons, of technology. But the greatest test is deeper, more profound. Is the test of our courage to stand united when everything seems to tear us apart. Is the courage to hold on to hope in the darkest hours, to rise from ashes when all seems lost. History teaches us that wars do not only destroy buildings and cities, they attempt to break hearts and wills. But it is in these moments of despair that the true power of humanity shines brightest. Imagine families torn apart, communities shattered, and millions displaced. Yet, amid the rubble, stories of bravery, sacrifice, and compassion emerge. Ordinary people, mothers, fathers, children, who refuse to give up, who protect strangers as fiercely as kin, who risk everything for a chance at peace. The human spirit is a flame that no bomb can extinguish, a force stronger than any weapon. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Nelson Mandela. World War III is not just about who has the biggest arsenal or the most advanced missiles. It's about whether humanity can hold on to its core values: unity, resilience, and hope. When cities crumble and communication breaks down, it will be our shared humanity that binds us. People will rise not because of orders, but because they believe in something greater than themselves, a future where life, love, and freedom prevail. In this war, every act of kindness, every gesture of solidarity becomes a powerful rebellion against destruction. It's the neighbor who shares food in times of scarcity, the volunteer who aids the wounded despite the dangers, the voices that rise in protest against hate and division. The battlefield will stretch beyond borders and armies to the very hearts of millions. So, when the world asks which nations will stand and which will fall, the greater question is this: what will you stand for? Will you surrender to fear and division? Or will you become part of the human spirit's unstoppable force? Will you stand silent or speak up? Will you break down barriers or build bridges? This is the moment where history turns from tragedy to triumph. Because in the end, beyond the noise of war machines and the flash of nuclear fire, it is the human spirit, fierce, unyielding, and full of hope, that will write the final chapter. The last hope of humanity does not lie in weapons, alliances, or strategies. It lies in us. Quote of the part: when the world fights, only those who believe in peace truly win. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.